Hello and welcome to EmpathicFire. I am your reader, Jay. These are going to be general messages for the sign of Scorpio in December 2020. What is going on, Scorpio? How are you guys doing? I hope that you are doing well. All right, Scorpio, it's the end of the year. How was it? Did you have a good time? Hopefully you did. Many of us, we had a not so great time or just okay time. But whatever is going on in your life right now, Scorpio, however you're wrapping up the year, I hope you are safe, happy, healthy, and secure at this time. Please continue to take very good care of yourselves and those that you know and love, because even though 2020 is wrapping up, the business and all of the BS that 2020 has brought into our lives is not just going to be, walking out the door on December 31st. So please make very good choices. As someone very close to me, my best friend, in fact, has contracted COVID, even though they have done more than they should have to protect themselves. It just takes one interaction with another human being who isn't necessarily taking the necessary precautions or taking this thing seriously for you to be infected. And that is essentially what happened to my friend. And so I don't want that to happen to anybody else. The fact that it's happened to so many people thus far is ridiculous. But I say all that again to encourage you to make good choices and take care of yourself as well as others around you, because that's going to help us get back to normal, whether you believe that or not. That is the science of it, okay? Other announcements, guys. It is December, so Merry Christmas to you. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Winter Solstice, whatever you celebrate, whatever you're doing. I hope it's a wonderful time. If you can afford to skip it because of that pesky pandemic, I would suggest that. But if you are going to get together with people and celebrate and be festive, please, again, make good choices and protect yourselves and other people, okay? All right, Scorpio, let's do this thing. Anything you want from me, it's in the description box already. If you want the timestamp, it's down there. If you want to see how to go about getting a personal reading with me, the information on that is down there as well. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, the name is EmpathicFire Tarot, and there's a link to that down in the description box as well, okay? All right. Let's do this. I want to see the outcome for Scorpio in December 2020, please. December 2020 outcome for Scorpio, please show me. All right, bottom of the deck is the overall energy. And I've noted it for other signs, so I'm going to note it for you. All the cards came face up, which normally means when I do my tarot readings that things that were unknown or hidden or secreted away are not going to be or are no longer being. So basically the messages either here should be clear, or what you're going to encounter in your life and any type of resonance that you find with this reading, it should be pretty clear to you, okay? But let's see where we start. Let's see how this whole thing gets rolling, all right? Please show me where Scorpio is in December 2020. Scorpio in December 2020, please show me. All right, we got it. Pretty good. Scorpio, coming in to the reading, you come in with the energy of the Four of Swords. Well, are you on a break or what? Four of Swords is a big old timeout. It's a big old rest period. It's a big old point where we are actively reflecting or actively avoidant in some cases for some of you Scorpios. And the reason is like, okay, maybe not the reason, but I feel some of you Scorpios, not all, are kind of paralyzed. Now, I'm hopefully not talking about you're literally paralyzed physically. If you are, I hope it's not. Number one, I hope not. And if you are, maybe some of you, like, that's a new thing. Like, not trying to bring doom and gloom into this reading, but I'm getting the sense of like, okay, let's scratch the whole thing. If you're physically paralyzed, you have my sympathies and my empathy. But I feel the idea of being paralyzed, or this feeling of I can't do anything, that is new. Regardless of whether we're talking physically true or metaphorically true, right? That's the thing. This is new. I can't do anything. This Four of Swords is striking me as I don't have control here. I don't have a say here. I'm waiting on something, or people are waiting on me, but I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to say. And so it's like this static energy. Static as in, or not static, stasis. Thank you. That's the word I wanted. Stasis. Like literally frozen in time, or since this is swords, frozen in thought. So you could be thinking on something, reflecting on something in your mind heavily and coming up short. Not knowing what to do, not being able to process, not being able to fully get over or through something. In some cases, this is a need to communicate. Someone needs to communicate with you. You need to communicate with someone else, or there's, I don't want to say a block, but there's like friction, or to go back to that word, static in the communication. Like static is in like, oh my God, it's just like something from when I was a kid, and like my step grandfather had one of these things, like a CB radio with like the little clicky walkie-talkie part, and it's like click click click, hello hello, and you wait for a response, but until you hear a response, all you hear is that, like it's like that. So that type of static where you are trying to reach out to someone and you receive static, or people are trying to reach out to you and they receive static. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of pent up reason or intention or ideas or communication, what have you. And it's sort of like another image is coming into my mind. So you see how this guy is like lying down on this bedroll or whatever it is, yeah? And he's reaching that one hand down to the sword. I feel like it's very strange. I'm seeing like cartoon kind of things, or like comedy movies where someone has to like pack a suitcase, and you know, they pack too much stuff, but they like push their body weight down on the top of the brief, or on top of the suitcase, and they try to, you know, cramp it shut. You know, it's like that, like trying to contain something that is obviously overflowing, or obviously outside the dimensions of the container you're trying to put it in. It's like trying to constantly put all these things into this one suitcase and then trying to close it shut, but it's impossible to shut. Or, you know, again, like in a comedy, it shuts, but then it's going to burst open and spill out all of your lingerie and your naughty bits and all this other kind of stuff, like in the middle of like the airport terminal for like comedic effect. It's comedy for the audience, but for the character on screen, it's super embarrassing. So maybe that's what some of you are trying to avoid, because I did mention that word avoidance. I did mention the word reflection, so maybe like you're in that point of the movie where after the suitcase has exploded and everybody saw all of your, you know, negligee and everything spilled out in public, maybe now you're like, you know, cowering and barricading yourself in your hotel room because you're so ashamed of what everybody else saw. So it's sort of like that. There's something here where you're just like stuck with the reality of what has transpired, or you're trying to keep a lid on, clamp shut something that is bound to be exposed or is likely to overflow in some type of way. Okay? That's what that feels like. What else happens here for Scorpio? Please show me. Okay. Well. This is all. It's going to be a different version of exactly what I just said. All of that. I mean, there's going to be different details about it, but geez. Whew. Okay. Is this a separate reading? Yeah, they're telling me this is separate. I haven't had one of these in such a long time. I used to have these so much more often, because with the monthlies, I usually like to do a 6-card spread. Obviously, you have 7 cards here. And so basically, there's a separation. These 4 cards are seeming to be one storyline, and this trio of cards over here might be telling us another story. It might complement or supplement what's going on in the 4. I'm not sure. I haven't had to say that in so long, like probably over a year I haven't had to say that. That's interesting. But anyway, so what else happens? Because I think we're staying in the 4. Yes, they're like, yep. So there's a lot of, okay. Oh, that's interesting. That's so interesting. Wow, I've never seen this before and felt this in such a way. But I'm feeling like this is a group of people possibly grappling with the same embarrassing truth or event, or something has happened, and there might be a group of people having distinct reactions. You might be one of these people, you might not. I don't know. It's a general. You plug yourself in where you feel that you fit. So Four of Swords was the first one, which was, again, trying to contain it, possibly avoidant of it, possibly reflective on it, all the things that I was mentioning there. Then we have these two other swords cards, Nine of Swords, Ten of Swords, and I feel this is two additional people, or at least one additional person, having a different reaction to the same events, or the same truth, or the same, reality of the situation, what have you, okay? So, wow, oh shit. Okay, so one other person, Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords. Sleepless nights, racked with guilt or anxiety, feeling, in some cases, imprisoned or unable to see clearly is another thing I'm getting. And, confusion a little bit. The anxiety is really because of, if we're talking about a situation that involves a group of people, this person is anxious because they don't know what everyone else is doing and or thinking. And they are reluctant to share their own experience, their own mindset, their own truth, their own heart in the situation, or they're anxious about what will be told to them. This person is very sensitive to words at this time. Whoever's in this Nine of Swords energy, they're very extra tentative about what they say or what other people say to them. And the receiving of communication is really bothersome or worrisome. And I think this person is afraid of what's to come. Let's say, going back to the Four of Swords and that image of stuffing a suitcase full of clothes and traveling somewhere. This person may have been witness to this person putting everything in the suitcase, and this person may have thought, if you do that, it's going to break the buckles, or it's going to break the zipper, and it's just going to burst out all over the place. But they didn't say that because they were afraid to be judged or accosted or to be told they were overreacting, so they just shut up about it. And in some cases, this is not in all cases, in some cases, this person may have had a premonition, which is a very strong word, but it makes sense to me, may have had a premonition, if you do this, that's going to end badly. If you put all those things in that suitcase, it's just going to spill out all over the place, and it's going to be a hell of a mess to clean up, and you're going to feel embarrassed. They could have known all of that. But using that word premonition, I don't know about you. I don't know if you have premonitions. You might be gifted in some type of way, Scorpio. But when I have them, I don't always know how to articulate these things. It's just this knowingness. I know this is what's going to happen, but I can't articulate it to the people that I think it's going to happen to, or I can't really explain where it comes from. And just it's sometimes a feeling, sometimes it's a very short image. For me personally, that's me. I don't know how this person, you, or whoever else in the situation, if they do have premonitions, if they are some type of clairvoyant or something like that, they might not have the language, literally, might not have the language. They might not know what clairvoyance is. They may not have a real understanding of what premonition is, or they don't understand that premonition is sometimes a gift of a highly sensitive person, So there is a possibility in some cases that this is a gifted person in terms of the metaphysical, and they are, in a sense, again, this word of paralyzed comes through. They don't know what to do with their own skill set. That's for a few. That's not for everybody. Bigger or a bigger, more broad interpretation of this Nine of Swords is someone who's sensitive, yes, and is sort of paralyzed because of that sensitivity. Like, you see, she's kind of like hugging herself in this bed, and the swords are kind of looking like bars on a window a little bit. So it's like being, keeping yourself or the situation or the environment that you're in sort of keeps you under lock and key. And when you're imprisoned, whether it be a prison that you create for yourself in your mind or that you convince yourself of, or you're actually physically, kept away from things, you sort of don't have a very large perception or scope, a wide scope of what is possible. So that could be what's going on. Also, going back to premonition. Premonitions, again, I don't know about you, and I don't get them very often, but when I do, I'm like, I wonder how that's going to be. Like, now that I know what they are, there was a time in my life, clearly, when I didn't know what they were. I was just like, what? That's weird. And then like months or years later, the thing would happen. I'm like, oh shit, I totally had like a whole thing about this. And it does, again, for me, it's not even a whole thing. It's so weird. I'll try and explain it to you very quickly. Again, I can personally, me, Jay the reader, can see something in my mind. It just flashes across my mind. Lasts for like a second, 2 seconds, maybe. And in that, I have a whole story with details, backstory. I see the colors. I remember the temperature, things like that. In 2 seconds, I have a multitude of detail and nuanced information about something that months, years later, I recall instantly again. Or excuse me, I recall instantly back to those 2 seconds of a vision, basically, or a premonition, yes? I didn't always know what that was. Now that I'm older and I've worked on it a little bit, I know what that is. Okay? This person, they're what I used to be. I'm not trying to inject myself fully in here, but like that's what I relate to. Is like, it's knowing you know things, but you don't know how to tell people or even tell yourself, I know things. So that's its own form of paralysis or feeling paralyzed. Because I hate to keep using that word because I'm not trying to offend anybody and I'm not trying to, I'm not making any predictions in terms of like actual physical paralyzations, but that's sort of this feeling. I would imagine when you're paralyzed, especially if you had some sense of what it was like to be mobile or have certain functionalities and abilities beforehand, it's like before this moment, I could, let's say if you lost the ability to walk, right? I know that sensation to move one foot after the other, to go up and down the stairs, to go running, to be able to do a squat or sit on the floor or do whatever. Like this sensation still exists within me, but I can no longer express or move my body in those ways. And that is like, it creates a certain frustration, or it's like, the deeper feeling I get from this person is that form of paralyzing makes you feel weird or odd because you can't quote unquote normally or engage in a normal way, quotations on normal. Okay. So there will be times where, again, this person may have known that suitcase you're carrying is going to burst and it's going to throw all your clothes and everything on the street and people are going to laugh at you and whatever. But I can't tell you that. If I tell you that, you're going to think I'm crazy. If I tell you that, you're going to think, oh, I like messed with your suitcase to make it happen. So I can only sit here and watch. There's nothing I can do but sit here and watch it. Does that make sense? So this person has some type of intuition, some type of knowingness, some type of precog, premonition, whatever, clairvoyance, whatever you want to label it as or however you perceive it. And they feel imprisoned by that ability or imprisoned by that knowledge. Now, it does not, again, that's not for everybody. This could then easily translate into, give you another example, this could be somebody who gets a lot of information. So let's say there was a secret. Or something like that, or some juicy morsel of information. This person gets that knowledge, and if they tell it, they would be betraying someone else's trust, and if they tell it, they're going to be blamed, and they're going to be, put into the center of the drama, so the best option is to say nothing at all. So it's like the burden of secret keeping or the burden of being someone's confidant is that you know things that you wish you didn't know, because now that you know them, you can't do anything about it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Okay. So that's some other person. Two different people, I feel. What's here? Show me. Well, they're like, what did you just say? And I'm like, oh, okay. So in some cases, this is a third person or just a greater group of people. So if there are primary two people, this is everybody else but those two people. Okay, that's what I mean. But if it's specifically a third person, Ten of Swords, they have been betrayed. They have been stabbed in the back. They have been left for dead, so to speak. This is all figure of speech, okay? Wow. Like, this really feels like a falling out amongst friends or family members, okay? And it feels like, not saying this is the perpetrator. It could be the Four of Swords person. They could be the perpetrator. I'm not sure. So I'll leave that up to your discernment clearly. Everything I say is up to your own interpretation and discernment, of course. But I don't know that this person is exactly the reason why someone else is suffering. They could be, but I'm not 100% on that. Now, this other person who is kind of coming through in the Ten of Swords, I really don't think they're really very closely related to the Nine of Swords person. They feel more closely related to the Four of Swords person. Like, it really could have been like Ten of Swords gave something or said something to the Four of Swords person who may have inadvertently, again, with the suitcase situation, inadvertently exposed what was meant to be hidden, right? What was meant to be kept inside of a container and taken on board a plane, and nobody's supposed to know what comes tumbling out of that suitcase. But because of poor planning, because of being in a rush, because of being basically excuse me, sort of haphazard or willy-nilly, basically, like, what do you call that? Irresponsible. Thank you. Because of irresponsibility, possibly on this person's part, someone here is suffering. Does that make sense? So let's say it this way. Let's say, this is so weird. And that actually takes me back. I haven't flown in so long, but I remember post 9/11, and I think they still do this. I would imagine they still do this. Like, they started to ask you, did anyone else pack your suitcase? Right? Because, terrorism. And I think that, I don't know if that question still exists, but at the time, it was kind of a silly notion. I mean, I understand why they did it, but it was like, I packed my own suitcase. But this is sort of like in that in that vein. This person, I want you to pack my suitcase, or I want you to put these things in a bag for me. Four of Swords person says, okay, I'll do that. And they do it, but they fuck it up. They mess it up, right? And it doesn't have to be, I don't know why I brought up that 9/11 thing, but it doesn't have to, clearly be about terror. It could be about like something that's priceless. It doesn't even have to be a suitcase. It could just be shipping something or whatever. So here, I want you to pack this in a box. It's fragile. Treat it with care. This person says, okay, I'll do that. But they don't. And this person is watching. Or they know that this person, Ten of Swords, said, hey, to Four of Swords, pack my thing and do a good job of it. And Nine of Swords knows that's like the stipulation, knows that's the agreement, but then bears witness to the Four of Swords person kind of doing a muck-up job of it, like screwing it up, not taking it seriously, being irresponsible. And they're not in a position to say anything because either they've, again, had a precognition thing about it, a premonition about it, or they literally are like watching it, and if they were to interject, this person might have something to say, and they might be, again, roped into the center of some drama. So they, plead, they kind of, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil kind of thing. You know what I mean? Now, Ten of Swords person, I feel possibly, now that's all like, so I'm like, I'm not able to get like a real storyline there, but I hope you're able to follow follow the allegory and the metaphors that I'm using, because in the end, even though this person might in the moment incur some type of embarrassment, they will, quote unquote, live on, live to see another day. Ten of Swords in this deck and others is pretty much signaling a very brutal ending or brutalization, right? To be jammed in the back with 10 swords is overkill. To be left for dead is just heartless, right? So there is this sense, and I'm not speaking literally, I'm speaking figuratively. This is how this person feels, that they've been stabbed in the back 10 times over, even if it was by one individual person. Perhaps that is to do with trust. Perhaps that is to do with the history of the situation. If this is friends and family, which I feel for many of you it is, it wasn't unheard of for Ten of Swords person to trust Four of Swords person if they were the perpetrator. They don't have to be. I want that to be clear, because that's not true in all of your cases. But let's say they were. It's like your best friend, your cousin, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, whoever. They've never done this to you before that you've ever known of. When you've asked them something like this before, to do a favor for you, to pack something for you, to keep a secret for you, whatever, they've always done it. Now, possibly through inaction, because that's the other thing, avoidance and inaction can happen with the Four of Swords. So maybe it's not even that. Maybe it had nothing to do with go pack a suitcase and put it on a plane and do all this other kind of stuff. It could have just been, hey, can you do XYZ for me? Someone says yes, and then when the time comes for them to show up and do the thing, they renege or they never show up. Right? That can suddenly it feels heavily like trust is broken 2 to 3 times over. What do I mean? Between 2 or more people, trust is broken. So like, going back, they won't let me go of this like suitcase visual in my mind. So again, let's say again, you pack someone else's suitcase. Their stuff spills out all on the street and everybody sees it. You know, as the person who packed the suitcase, those are not your belongings, but to passers-by, strangers on the street, you're holding this bag that has just spilled out on the street, and whatever's in there, the presumption is that it belongs to you. So there's like this guilt by association feeling, or feeling embarrassed, even though what you're in the middle of is not your fault, or what's being discussed has nothing to do with you. You're just, the messenger, or you're just the carrier of something. You know what I mean? There's something here about image and people being judged from other people who don't know the true, that's a very specific detail. That's a very specific detail. Like, oh, this stuff just spilled out. It's not my stuff. It's not my stuff. Most people in that situation would go, you're lying. Clearly it's yours. You're the one who's holding the bag. We saw you carry it. It fell open. You were the one standing there. It's clearly your stuff. And in reality, no, it's not. I'm just doing this for my friend. I'm doing this for my mom or whoever. These are not my belongings. But to a stranger on the street, it doesn't seem that way. So there's something about image and being misinterpreted based on what's transpiring. What is this event? What is this secret? What is this misinformation or exchange of information that's gone completely haywire, and how everyone is sort of roped into something, and it's all suspect and it's all weird. Okay. Wow. Now the Ten of Swords person, I gotta be honest, in like 1 or 2 cases, this was purposeful. Just 1 or 2 cases, this was purposeful. I gotta be honest. This was designed to put egg on this person's face, or to put this person, Nine of Swords, to go back to them, put them in a awkward, precarious situation. Someone knew, that if I do XYZ, if I say ABC, then that person's not going to know what to do. So they're just going to sit over there and not say one word. Or, you know, maybe they didn't know about the precog stuff, but they had a suspicion that this person is just going to be racked with guilt or too anxious and too afraid to say anything. So then if I go over here and do this, they're going to bumble it. They're going to screw it up. They're going to falter, or they're going to crack under pressure or something like that. And then I'll be able to look like a victim. Now that's for one or two of you. That's super vindictive. That's super manipulative, but it's possible in this scenario that I'm feeling. That's not for most of you. Not even close to most of you. But for some of y'all out there, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened, okay? Now, the final part of this 4-part card story is the Hermit. Major Arcana 4, Virgo. Could be dealing with a Virgo, but you don't have to be. Now, I'm making such a weird face. I know I am. And I'm glad I'm not on camera. As soon as I pick that up, they're like, bingo, 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 bingo. Okay? For some of you, the person who did that is in this Hermit energy. Meaning, they have pulled back. They have gone into hermit mode. They are not talking to people. They are reflective, and they are really sort of making themselves out to be a martyr in some form or fashion. Again, making themselves out to be the victim, and they're doing it well. I got to be honest. All right. They're doing it very well. They are getting people who are not involved in the situation, their side of the story. It's like sort of in media or politics or something like that. If you go to the story first, if you go to the newspaper first or the media outlet first, and you state your side of the story first, that's going to be the narrative that becomes the true narrative. Does that make sense? So even if it's a lie, which in some cases this is a lie, or it's a setup, or it's some type of manipulation, even if that's what it is, because it was stated first, because that is what is being put into people's minds, or that's what most people are hearing about the situation, that's what they're going to believe. Fucking hell. Who's that? Who is that? Don't like that. Don't like that. Nope, not a fan. Okay? What else? And it's a masterful thing. It's a masterful thing. Now, it's a masterful thing because when we see the Hermit, when he's in high vibe, because this is low vibe, what I'm talking about right now, this Hermit energy, what I was just describing, that's low vibration. That low vibe, baby, okay? When Hermit is in high vibe, it's a masterful energy. It's a masterful energy that looks to take a hard look at what is dark in our lives, what is negative in our lives, what is hurtful in our lives, what is giving us, or what is opening up or signaling to certain woundings in our history to us. And it goes and it tries to heal those things. When in low vibe, Hermit wants to exploit wounding, wants to exploit darkness, does not want to heal it, wants to utilize it and carry on a victim narrative. Okay? So, one of the things I normally mention with the Hermit card is it's related to Virgo, and Virgo rules the 6th house. And 6th house, I don't know why. I need to know. I know what else is in the 6th house, but I always mention it when I do tarot readings. One of the things that exists in the 6th house is nursing, healthcare, taking care of others, nurturing, right? Now, there's two very, very famous nurse archetypes that I believe were both real people. I think. I'm pretty sure they were both real people. One, what was her name? Nightingale? Or something like that? Nurse Nightingale or something like that? I think that's her name. I might be butchering this at this moment, but whatever. There's this nurse who was so kind and so gentle and was just giving to others, and she put herself at risk, and she was always by people's bedsides and all this kind of stuff. And then there's Nurse Ratchet, and she's a piece of work. Both carried the title of nurse, carried on the duties and stood in the position of somebody who was meant to help people heal, but one of them was just a little, she was not good. She was not nice. She was not gentle. But they both had the moniker of nurse. You see what I mean? So this person, Hermit, again, went in high vibe, looking to heal, looking to, go into those dark places bravely, face those demons, face those woundings, face those hardships, and get over them. Get on with the business of healing. Nurse Ratchet did not necessarily always want to heal. She was like, hey, you're suffering. How about I make your suffering worse? That's for some of you. That's who's there. For some of you. That's not for everybody. Now, I want you to notice, I picked that card up like 5 minutes ago. I haven't touched it again. I don't like it. Okay? I'm going to pick it up again, and I'm requesting new information because that's not for everybody. So, what else is going on with the Hermit, please? Now, if there's no low vibe, sneaky snake, victimized person making themselves out to be a martyr, if that person doesn't exist in the story, or if that's not this person or that person's or this person, whoever's leaning, if that's not what they're into, I feel this Hermit would be possibly a fourth or fifth person or someone else removed from the situation mostly. So I'm sensing like a therapist. I'm sensing a legit nurse or doctor who's here to maybe help people in like a family counseling, marriage counseling, workplace counseling, I suppose, or mediation, something like that. It could also be still within the group. Not that it would be any of these individuals that we talked about, but maybe another person who's familiar with all three stepping in and pointing out possibly or highlighting the issues each person is carrying or bringing into the situation. I feel very helpful information. This is medium to high vibe, okay? This is actually Hermit doing the job and doing it right. Not wanting to exploit the hurts or the wounding or the conditions or anything like that. Wanting to actually persevere and transcend those things. This is a very helpful energy. It feels interesting. I'm like getting like this vibe of like green. So like, I don't see this very often, but I'm seeing someone like encircled in green. So they might wear a lot of green in terms of their clothing or jewelry, or if you are into auras or chakra work or something like that, they might have that kind of image in your mind or somebody else's mind. But I'm getting like green. Maybe even green is a part of their name or something like that. They might travel far to intervene here or to bring something to the situation. And, just to be, on its face, the Hermit is an older person, an older gentleman specifically in this card. Does not have to be a male, but I do get the sense that compared to everybody else in this situation, this person might be considerably older. Okay? Like 10 to 20 or 10 or plus years older than most other people in the situation. So I feel like the wisdom is unmistakable with this person. And again, going back to if it's like a doctor or a nurse or a counselor, that makes sense. They don't have to be officially working in those capacities. They could be a freaking, bank teller, for God's sakes. It doesn't matter. But they have a certain wisdom about them that they carry into the situation, that they carry in their aura, in their person. Like people come to them regularly, possibly for advice, unofficially for advice, So it's something like that. They're very helpful. However, let me go ahead and say that. They're helpful, but they're not the answer. Does that make sense? They are helpful, but they are not the answer to whatever's going on over here. Okay? So that's all that. Like I told you in the beginning, this is something else. So what's going on out here, please? God, I haven't had one of these readings in such a long time. Very interesting. All right. Well. Damn it. I think this is a complimentary reading. I don't think it's different. I think it's relative to everything we talked about, because I'm drawn immediately to the Seven of Swords and how it's sitting by this King of Cups energy. So immediately, Seven of Swords, King of Cups, deception, deceiver, liar, manipulator, boom, 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 all those things. Seven of Swords, air sign energy, all the swords that we talked about earlier. And then the King of Cups, water sign energy, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, there you go. Could be you. Now, Scorpio, now listen, I say this all the time, but I don't want to put it past anybody. I doubt people that are full of lies and manipulations are out here like watching tarot readings, but they could be. So go ahead and take this with a grain of salt, Scorpio. If it's you, own it. If it's not, that's okay too. But you could be dealing with another water sign or not at all. I am getting that. I am sort of like crocodile tears kind of feeling here. Like trembling chin, like, but like, the eyes are dry as bones, but not a damn tear is coming down the cheek. It's something like that. It's really strange, because the natural or the innate meaning or interpretation that we get with the King of Cups is earnest, truthful, emotional authenticity. But because it's right next to the Seven of Swords, that could be affectation. That could be for show. Okay? Or lies, deception, and manipulation are coming towards a very sentimental, emotional person, regardless of their sign, regardless of zodiac, regardless of gender or anything like that. I don't care who it is. I don't care where you are in the story, but this is sort of, you could take it two ways. That is the person, and they're acting like they're hurt. They're acting as if they have experienced some type of drama or trauma in their lives, and they're woe is me, even though, if you watch closely, they're not really crying, or they turn it on real quick and then they turn it off real quick, and it's like as if they were literally like on a movie stage, like acting in a scene, and action, and then cut. Okay, how was that? It's like that. This person might have that capability. Okay? Or this person is being met with lies, deception, manipulation. Uncertainty is another word that's come through. Uncertainty. Oh, that's interesting. So I'm getting the sense that maybe someone in this energy, that first story where this is the person who's doing the crocodile tears, that's really all I'm going to get from that, I think. So we're going to move on to now where this is a separate energy from the King of Swords. So there might be someone coming to the King of Swords, sort of like a salesperson, like a door-to-door salesman, like back in the day. And it's a con, Wasn't always a con, door-to-door salesman or any type of sales. Not all sales or salespeople are cons, but there's a good portion that are, right? And I feel like maybe that's what's going on here. Like maybe somebody, like a snake oil salesman or something like that, or a used car salesman, that type of energy, where this is the best deal ever, and I'm going to get you this thing, and we're going to get you a good interest rate on that, and how much are you going to put down today? Oh, that's excellent, da-da-da-da-da. And okay, well, if you bought this and that, and you get the warranty, you're going to be saving, blah, 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 blah. It's like a lot of fast talking, a lot of jargon, a lot of, and you know what you're going to do? You're going to save this much money today. How about it? How about it right now, Scorpio? Do you want to sign on the dotted line here? Come on. It's like this encouraging to do something in order to pull the wool over your eyes to make a quick buck. Or in other terms, or without it being a sales metaphor, it's like to get anything from you. Come on, Scorpio, I would never lie. I would never do this. You're on my side, right? So somebody could be doing that, trying to get you to believe their story. Remember what I just told you over here about going and getting it in the press first. If you state your side of the story first, that then becomes the side of the story to defeat or come out with a better side of the story. Does that make sense? Like, if we say it first, or if you say, Scorpio, that you believe me, then everybody else is going to believe me. Or if you say that you believe me, then that means that I've gained the trust of XYZ person. So are you on my side or are you not? It's like this ultimatum energy in some cases. Are you with me or are you against me kind of energy. And the look of this person. Are you with me or are you against me? Are you coming with me? Do you have my back? Are you gonna stand here and say that you, like in some cases maybe like an alibi? Like, I need you to say I was with you on Saturday at 2:30, but I haven't seen you in 2 days. Listen, if anybody asks, you and me were hanging out Saturday at 2:30, okay? It's like, what? You're roping me into some lie? It's like that. And the scowl on this guy's face, it's like, and if you tell anybody anything different, we're going to have problems. Like, listen, this is a lot to be thrown at the King of Cups, because I want to give credit to the King of Cups. Again, in a separate, if these are two separate peoples, two separate energies, if they're the same person, we've gone over that. If this is another person, or the person that's being presented with that energy, or being confronted with that energy, they're smart, they're sensible, but they can be a little gullible. Or, I said that earlier. There was reason to trust over here. I forget where I was over here when I said it, but I said there was no reason to doubt that this person would even lie, because we have known each other for years, since we were little, since high school, since college, whatever. And I've never had a reason not to trust this person. So of course I said yes, or of course I agreed, or of course I loaned them the money, or whatever it is. Not knowing, not suspecting for a second that there was a con underway. The trust that the King of Cups was giving to a person existed for a long time. But in a moment, the trust has been broken. You get me? That is why there's such a aggression from this person. There might have been, not to sympathize too much with this person, but, as an empathic person, I can get it. It could be that something has gone on with this energy, this person here, that caused them to act desperately. So desperate that they betrayed the trust of their longest friends, or their longest confidants, their longest allies, and they may have sold those same people down the river. There's something about an act of desperation in some cases. Again, it's not an excuse, doesn't make it okay. But that is sort of the motivation that some of them have, okay? Whoever that is. Now, final card, the Magician. Ooh, who is this? Oh, well, very quickly, very quickly. Some of you, going back to this Hermit energy just a little bit. Oh, I think we'll talk about that also. But for some, I told you that the low vibe Hermit person, in some of your cases, not all, is coming from a place of like masterful manipulation or something like that, I said. Similar energy here. The Magician, when in low vibe, can be also a master manipulator, but they create. The Hermit doesn't necessarily create. The Hermit is more like like salt in the wound. Again, like a Nurse Ratched. Like, you're suffering, this is your weak point, digs a thumb in. Oh, that's an open gash on your leg? Here. How's that feel? Screaming in pain. Oh, that doesn't make you feel better? Oh, I'm so surprised. It's like exploiting what already exists. The Magician creates. The Magician would be creating, when in low vibe, which is possible for some, they're creating, fabricating, lying, making something out of nothing in a bad way. So magicians, if you think about it, some of them are playful and they, just have harmless, card tricks or something like that, or they make things disappear and reappear over here, and it's no big deal. Other magicians, they like shove, they what do? They like throw knives, they cut women and, saw women in half, they bind themselves up in straitjackets and practically drown themselves, things that are more, I don't want to say revolting, but, maybe that's how some people perceive it, but like shocking. Like, oh my God, that's so dangerous. Or, what's one of those things like, you shoot a bullet and they catch it in their teeth. Like literally, you could be very badly hurt if these tricks don't go right. So it's like there are degrees to this, levels to this. So the creation of the illusion can be pretty passive, can be pretty, oh, that was such a cute little trick. Or it can be like, oh my God, that person is insane. What an insane thing to do. What an insane thing to say. That's where some of that energy is, in that low vibe of, oh my God, that is really crazy. But so crazy, it's still believable. Even though it's crazy as shit, it's still believable, right? So again, thinking of like actual magicians, like what's that one? David Blaine? I think he was the one. He did like the straitjacket in water, or he locked himself up and he was in a tank of water or something like that. He's done a lot of crazy shit where he could have like really badly been hurt, right? I mean, many magicians do, but like it's like you don't have to do that. Just do some card tricks. You can still be amazing and do card tricks. Look at Penn and Teller. So it's like that. It's like you don't have to go that far. But magician, secondary major also, I'm sorry, I did not mention, is for Gemini and Virgo. So that's twice for Virgo. So if you're dealing with a Virgo, that's double confirmation for some of you. Magician chooses. They can do big, extravagant, horrifying, or shocking tricks, or they can do some, pulling a rabbit out of the hat. No big whoop. You know what I mean? Something really benign, something really like, oh, you would still get like applause and stuff like that, or you could really go for the gusto, So I get the sense that somebody's making a big splash in whatever they're creating, even if it's a lie, even if it's a fabrication, right? That's for some. Now, that's that low vibe shit. Okay? Again, right here, act of desperation. So, over the top and all that stuff. Again, somebody knows when to turn it on. Crying when they need to cry. Sounding desperate. Making up, all kinds of things. If I need your help here, and if you don't help me, somebody's going to come and they're going to repossess my house. That's not happening. But they say it is because they need your money or they need your help or something like that. That's not the truth, though. That's not the truth. But they're going to play it like it's the truth. And that's part of the con. That's part of the magic, the illusion of it all. Okay? Now, medium to high vibe. I want to change that up because I think that really would plug back into the hermit. If they're two different people, they're obviously in cahoots. If it's the same person, they're running a big dastardly game. Watch out for that character. Now, that's for the low vibe. If it's medium to high vibe, what do we have? Wow. That's very specific. I got television host or publicist, something like that. Some of you are like, you're embroiled in a scandal, whether it be national or local or, just a high school drama or something like that. I don't know. But there's someone here who has the ability to communicate with many people at one time. So like a TV host, a producer, a publicist or something like that, or an editor, someone who has a big reach to an audience where if they are with you or against you, they can really help spin that story in your favor. Okay? Now, that's very specific. And they're kind of leaving it at that. Oh, he's kind of like, okay, so two things. That planet behind him, it doesn't look like Earth, but it is giving me like a planet thing. So like that would kind of appeal to like that massive audience thing. Possibly, in some of your cases, a global audience. That's huge. But what I was kind of chuckling about earlier was like, he kind of has this green orb around him. And what did I say about the hermit? There's like this green thing about this person. So maybe some of them are green in terms of like, maybe they're into eco-politics or eco-politics, right? Maybe they're, they run a company or they're somehow involved in environmental issues, something like that. Oh, I'm all like, there we go. Thank you. I'm like, what? This person, I think, would be like, was that a magnifying glass? Like this person can increase the knowledge or the exposure or decrease it. Like a magician, I can do a big show or a small show, right? I can do a huge Vegas show, sell out the seats there. I could sell out, all these other venues across the world. Or I can just, pop up on the street corner, ride the subway, or be down on the subway platform and do tricks. It's my choice. This person has a lot of choice in how much emphasis they or other people put on the situation. Now, again, for some, it's very public. It's very like society, like global or national or something like that, or even local. In other cases, this is someone in the family or the group of friends that can pull focus to or away from whatever they want. And this person, I feel, is again an outside entity. They're not a part of the in most cases, they're not a part of the foundational drama or whatever we're talking about. They have nothing to do with packing the suitcase or the suitcase bursting open or anything like that. They have nothing to do with creating some of them, they have nothing to do with creating crocodile tears or believing crocodile tears or anything. They are very external. And they are self-contained, self-made energy often with the Magician card, right? And so that means they're kind of independent. They have no win or lose slant in this situation. It's very interesting. I don't know who they are to you. Okay, so remember over here, I said the Hermit is they can help, but they're not the answer. This energy... It might be the reverse. This energy or this person might be the answer, but they're not very helpful, right? Because they don't care either way, because they've got their own thing to worry about, or they're doing something completely unrelated to this. If this again was like a producer or a publicist or a TV host, I talk every day. Not me, this person might be saying that. I speak to an audience every day, and I can speak to them about whatever I want. What makes your case, your story, more plausible, or not plausible, but more of an interest to my viewers than the next? Like, you might be going to your local news with like a huge expose. Like, oh my God, you got to talk about this tonight on the evening news. And this is like a local TV producer or director or whoever. And they're just like, no, not really interested in running that story. Maybe we'll put it online or something, but we're not going to run it on in the primetime news. No, we're not going to talk about that. And you're like, but you got to talk about it. No, we don't have to. So the answer to somebody's need or quest or something like that is, I need more exposure to this story, or I need this person to be, be exposed for the liar that they are, or the betrayer that they are, or whatever. This person who has the ability to basically hand someone a mic or hand someone an audience, they're like, I don't really want to. I don't, it's nothing, there's nothing in it for me, and I don't really care either way. So, no. Or yes, well, I don't really care, but, this sounds interesting and maybe we'll pull some viewers, or maybe we'll be able to make some money off of some advertising. Sure, go ahead. Whatever the answer is. But they're not helpful, because they're not like as enthused. Possibly they don't even believe what they're exposing their audience to. So that's interesting. I don't really know what you're supposed to do with that. But, and I don't want this to be like these are two opposite people, or that one's good and one's bad. I don't want it to be seen that way. I just think like this person is a little bit more invested when they're high vibe, the Hermit. They're much more invested. They're much more sympathetic, caring towards the situation. The Magician is more, well, what can we create out of this? Whatever is created out of what you're asking me to do, is it going to benefit me? Is it going to benefit my brand? Is it going to benefit my company? Or am I just doing this to make you happy? Like, I'm not interested in just making you happy. Or I'm not interested in just making that person over there look like an idiot. Like, you got to sell me on something here. Versus this person, I just want to do something good. So, I don't know. I'm a little weary of both. If I'm weary of this entire reading, Scorpio, by the way. So, both the Magician and the Hermit might have more influence than any single person necessarily needs, but that is the reality of your situation. Like, the person with more wisdom, not to say like they shouldn't have wisdom, but people will come to them because of it, right? So that carries a certain set of responsibilities and or burden. This person who has a microphone or an audience or an ability to kind of bring further attention to a situation or a circumstance, that's their burden and their responsibility. And how both individuals choose to behave, that's up to how they show up in your life. Some of them will be high vibe, some of them will be low vibe. Okay? Outcome, my gosh. Ace of Cups. Where the hell's this coming from? For some of you Scorpios, this could come in the form of a truce. You know, waving of white flags, bygones be bygones, maybe a little bit of forgiveness or apology for a few. But I feel like, excuse me, sort of like something comes to a bittersweet ending or resets on bittersweet foundations or bittersweet grounding, something like that. So if this was a misunderstanding amongst people or some type of family or friendship drama where people are betrayed and trust is broken and whatever, there could be eventually some reset to all of that. But it's a cautious reset. This isn't like, you know, Ace of Cups by itself normally is very like, oh my God, this is a brand new start, romantic gestures, romantic offers, feeling inspired, feeling in love with life or in love with an individual, whatever. Nah. I'm really feeling it's like a cautious step towards those things or a cautious beginning in those arenas, in those areas, right? It's not as over the moon, all those moon cycles there. It's not as over the moon as I think typically the Ace of Cups could be. So for some, like I said, this could be a reconciliation or some type of apology or some interest in just calling a truce, letting bygones be bygones and moving on in different directions or trying to get back to square one within our relationships, our connections, our friends and with our family members or whatever. But there's still caution here because that eye is very piercing, right? It's very observant, yes? And I don't know. I like this. I wouldn't be highly sold on this. And maybe the caution is coming from you. Maybe in this whole scenario, you've been Nine of Swords. Maybe you've had the premonition. Maybe you saw this thing coming and now it's unfolding or it's already unfolded. And so maybe the person who was, you know, double crossing or setting people up and crying crocodile tears, maybe they come to you and they're like, hey, Scorpio, I know, you know, you saw that drama happen with me, that person, this person, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I was hoping that you and I could at least be friends. And you're like, I mean, I guess. It's like this reluctant, okay. It's like not even, it's not an emphatic, yes, yes, yes. And it's not a hell no. It's like a, I guess, or maybe, we'll see. Step by step, day by day. Maybe it's something like that. We'll see how it goes. That type of energy. Okay. Overall energy for your reading, Two of Swords. Now, Scorpio, as I just said, you might be the Nine of Swords person who I think is involved in a secondary or tertiary type of way. You might not be a part of this whole drama. And as such, you would easily take this position of Two of Swords. I did say that earlier, didn't I? See no evil, speak no evil, or was that for the reading previous? I can't remember. Apologies, I'm getting a little congested. But if you're not centrally involved, I could see you easily taking this position of, one second, I gotta clear this up, 1 second. All right, I apologize about that. Oh my gosh. Hopefully that clears it up a little bit. But I could easily see you not being involved if you're not the central figure or any of the central figures, right? I feel in that case, it's a very protective energy, or an energy where you sit because of your uncertainty. Because remember, the Nine of Swords person is just like, I don't really know what to say. I don't know what to do. People, if I say anything, I might be dragged into the middle, and I really don't need all that noise in my life, right? I don't need any drama. I don't need any parts of it. So that could easily be what's going on here for those who resonate with that position. For others of you who are either the Four of Swords, the Ten of Swords, the Hermit, any of the other cards, basically, this Two of Swords, I think, is like, it's sort of like when God forbid, you're in the middle of an accident, like a car accident or some emergency, and you kind of get tunnel vision. You're not able to see much of anything else what's going on because you're so focused on the emergency or what's befalling you, like right now. I can't think about what happened yesterday. I can't think about what's going on like all of your preset plans, all of the things you were thinking about in the future, all of the things that you were worried about coming from dealing with what happened yesterday and the day before, like all of that just suddenly disappears, and there's nothing but the moment that you're living in the middle of something traumatic or the middle of something dramatic, right? That creates a certain feeling of, well, what do I do now? Or, well, because it's like I can't go beyond the next couple of seconds. I can't think 10 minutes in the future. I can't even remember 5 seconds of the past. It's only right here, right now. And a lot of us, in moments like that, freeze up, black out, suffer with staying conscious or staying cognizant and recalling details even though the thing just happened. So like if you're a witness to like a robbery or something like that, or let's say that happens. Let's say there's like a robbery or something like that, and several people, they're inside of a store, or they see someone run down the street with like a mask on their face and they're carrying a bag full of money. Some people will say, oh, that person was wearing a black hoodie. Someone else will say, oh, I think it was like a gray hoodie. Who's right? Two people witness the same action, but they tell two different stories. And that's because in that moment, the brain, I think, is not really able to take in those details the way that it normally would. The biochemistry of the brain changes and all this other kind of stuff. So that's what I feel like is going on for anyone else, mostly, who's not in the Nine of Swords energy. You're living in the drama, you're creating the drama, you're reacting to the drama, you're creating the crocodile tears, you're reacting to the crocodile tears, and there's no way to really gauge what's going on and how it all is going to play out, or how you're properly meant to respond. So it gets you in sort of like this frozen energy, this sort of like this glitch, like it's like being in a glitch. You can't move forward or backwards, you're just stuck while the computer tries to figure itself out, or the piece of technology tries to, reset itself, right? Scorpio, always fun. That is your reading for December. If you liked it, there's a like button down below. Hit that for me. If you want to leave a message, leave a comment. Let me know how this resonated in your life. Please do so down below. You can also email me. People do that sometimes. If you want to email me, give me your reaction to things, that's perfectly okay. I don't necessarily want that all the time, but I don't mind it also. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Doing any and all of those things helps support the channel here, and keeps the videos in circulation. So if you want to help a girl out in those ways, feel free. I'd appreciate it. Scorpio, I'll be back in a few weeks' time to bring you your mid-December readings. And until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care.